So Tim has asked me to share today on how community empowers and blesses us celibates, us consecrated people within the community. And I was thinking, wow, that's so overwhelming because I actually don't know where to start, because we are so blessed and so rich to live our life within covenant community. So it is quite a difficult thing to talk on, and I know for me in my own life it has been the biggest blessing to be part of covenant community. So I did think I'd go back to the very beginning with a strapping young man. Ping. Oh, look. Do you remember him? Some of you remember him? Father Ken Barker. So here he is as a young priest, strapping young priest living within Disciples of Jesus community and also a diocesan priest. I feel a bit funny about telling his story because he's right there. But anyway, I'm going to try my best. So yeah, this is your life, Father Ken. So Father Ken, within the Disciples of Jesus community, as a young priest, begins to get this call to begin consecrated life within the community, as some other young men were approaching him who were members of the community, who also felt this call to live consecrated life, but within Disciples of Jesus, back then, Hepzibah, within a covenant community. That's right, am I right so far? Yep, good. So that's, the very beginning. And I want to say at this point, Father Ken, I know this is such an historical week for you and for the brothers, but I just want to say at this point that we as sisters, as consecrated women, are so grateful to you for your yes, and for your leadership and for your love and for your support over these days, particularly heading into your convocation this week and the quite significant change that is about to take place. So at this point, starting from the very beginning, Father Ken, we do thank you and we love you very much. And yeah, I think it's a transition, massive transition for him, but for all of us. I don't know how, I'm not coping already. I don't know about you people. And I am happy to be the new moderator, so of the... Anyway, so here we had these young men approaching Father Ken within the Disciples of Jesus community, and then obviously these men took this to prayer and started to feel the call to consecrated life within covenant community, which is so unique. It's unique in Australia, the first in Australia, very unique in the whole world, which is such a blessing. Not long after that, around about the same time, we have, ping, and again, oh look, here she comes. Here she is. Not long after, we have Sister Patty Jo Crockett, who was a Franciscan Missionary of Mary nun on a motorbike, working as a FMM, ministering as an FMM, and over time she too started to feel, because she was a Franciscan Missionary of Mary within the covenant community, Hepzibah, she started to also feel this stirring in her heart. You can press the next one. She started to, there she is up in Papua New Guinea working as a FMM. She started to feel the stirrings in her heart for consecrated life within this community, because she wanted to be a nun but be part of the community, and that wasn't working out for her. So then she started to feel the stirrings in her heart. And also there were young women too that really felt the call to consecrated life within the covenant community. So The missionaries of God's love were come out of, here's Father Ken and Patty Joe and Steve Tynan, can you see him? And Brendan, is it Brendan? Ken? Oh, Paul, is it? Anyway, Paul Ashcroft. So here these guys are making their first public vows in 1987 on the 13th of December. And I believe that the brothers had made private vows before that. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. And then here these guys are making public vows within the covenant community. So, ping, Angela. So we have been birthed and blessed out of this covenant community in the midst of it, which is disciples of Jesus, which is such a blessing. And we place our life under the power of the Holy Spirit. So we're very much living our life in and through disciples of Jesus community and the power of the Holy Spirit. At this point, I'd like to invite one of my bros. Where is he? There he is. Michael Last, and he's going to come and share about his journey with the community. So let's give a big clap.
Thanks, Millsy. Yeah, what a delight, honour to be able to share with you today. Yeah, far out. I love this community. I was like, as I was preparing for what to share today, I was just overwhelmed with gratitude and just echoing what Therese has said, just the blessing that it's been in my life. If it weren't for DOJ, I wouldn't be an MGL because DOJ helped me to discover my vocation and to deepen in it. So I first met the MGLs at a summer school in Bathurst in 2010. I was 21 and I was kind of really struck by these dudes in brown and white. You know when you meet someone who's kind of just fully alive and they're just like radiant? There's just kind of something about them that... So I had that experience of meeting some of the brothers and, they played soccer with us. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool, And their preaching kind of just went boom into my heart and just really down to earth. So immediately there was something attractive about that I found about the MGLs. But my first summer school was also my first experience of the charismatic renewal. And so for me, that was quite a foreign thing. I was quite resistant. I was just kind of really wrestling during that intense week. But what really won me over was actually the love of the community. The love of the community for me, the love they had for each other, the love they had for the Lord. It was something that was just like, well, there's something pretty real going on here. It can't be all crazy. So it kind of softened me, opened me up to a vocation. And then I had an experience of living in community for a year when I served on youth mission team in 2012 up in Sydney North. I was living in community with some of the MGL sisters, so Judy and Kat, Rosie, Berna, and the beautiful Sydney North branch of the community. And that year really sort of planted a lot of seeds in me in terms of opening up to a vocation to religious life and the priesthood. And since joining the brothers and living in DOJ, I found that I've really deepened in my vocation and also deepened in my appreciation or valuing the gift of covenant as well. So as I was reflecting this morning, just want to articulate a few aspects of the way that I've experienced that deepening and that blessing. The first one is love and belonging. So just being greeted by people like Ethel Ringrose Rose or Margaret Thomas or Angela or Tim Murray or Tim Kirk, these people who will just kind of love you for who you are. Or going to Tim and Claudius for dinner and Tim opens the door and says, "We've killed the fatted calf." Or Judy Mullins giving you strepsils at Light to the Nations because your voice is sore. Or Karen Kirk saying, "Hey, we're going to a concert, do you want to come with us?" So all those experiences of love, such a blessing. And also healing in terms of my own sense of self, because seeing the way that other people look at me and receive me, it gives me a little glimpse into the way that God looks at me. And I was kind of a person who carried around a lot of shame and a lot of self-criticism. So being in the midst of community has just been massively healing and blessing, just being loved and finding belonging there. Also the gift of accompaniment, especially for me in having good Christian men who could journey with me, both in kind of formal roles and informal roles, men who would affirm me, who would take an interest in me, offer me their wisdom. So people like Kel Simon from Sydney South Branch, who walked with me for a year. It was really transformative for me to be guided by someone like him. Thomas Ung from Sydney South, Mike Layoff here, Tim Kirk, Adrian Wellspring, who's been my spiritual director for a number of years, all these wonderful men who've been sort of father figures for me in my own life, having good Christian male role models that I can look up to. So the love and belonging, accompaniment, inspiration. I'm constantly inspired to be a disciple as I'm walking the journey amidst other disciples. Ellen Thomas gave such a good talk at Meet the Man the other night. I was like, wow, so much maturity and wisdom. I was so inspired. And then Stephen Kirk, man of prayer, obviously not really a showy piety, but you can tell by the songs that he writes, and you can tell that when you speak to him that he's a man of deep prayer. And then that makes me feel like, oh yeah, I've got to lift my game. I've got to pray. I've got to be like T. I've got to be like Stephen Kirk. I've got to amp up the prayers. And Selena Hashem, you guys know Selena Hashem, CEO of Harvest Pilgrimages, super up there in the church plenary council, blah, blah, blah. And then we're at the Lights of the Nations working bee yesterday, and she's moving stuff. I'm like, wow, such humility. So all these holy legends of community that are in our midst that are just kind of inspiring, so inspiring to me. And then Greg Jeffrey, just seeing him be a dad, and Brendan Price, just seeing the way that they love their kids, that really inspires me in terms of my own journey of being a spiritual father, what it means to be a dad. And then, what was that? Love and belonging. I had an acronym in my head so I can remember it. Accompaniment, inspiration, friendship. Yeah, friendship. Wow. Not just these sort of surfacey level friends, but friends who can kind of really journey with you in the highs and lows of life, that can rejoice with you when you're rejoicing, weep with you when you're weeping. People like Kate and Kieran. So I did youth mission team with Kate, or we're not on the same team, but on the same national team 10 years ago. And I was in sharing group with Kieran when I first lived in Canberra, and now they're married. And Jane and Gerard William, who many of you would know from Melbourne branch, people like that who are just really good, close friendships. And for me as a celibate, that's really important, just to have intimacy in my own life, that I can have friends who I can reveal myself to. Yeah, such a beautiful gift. And then trust as well, being trusted, that's been such a beautiful gift as well. In the church today, there's a lot of times where I don't feel trusted, actually. And then there's fear that comes out of that. I'm walking past the playground, and I'm afraid to even look at or interact with a child that's there because of what's happened in the church. But then I can go to Jerry and Crystal's house for dinner, and they're just hey, you're welcome here, and play with our kids. And how good is it to experience play as an adult? That's amazing. And then Anthony Wing-Rose, who trusted me to drive his car home yesterday as he was sleeping in the passenger seat next to me. Or just So experiencing trust is also another really beautiful gift that I found in community. And also just the opportunity to use and develop my own gifts, my spiritual gifts, the charisms, worship and prophecy, giving it a space where that can flower, and also opportunities to teach at Explosion or to lead worship. Before I joined the Brothers, I never really sang in public. I never really led worship. I played flute. I did music ministry, but it's only since being involved in community and doing outreaches summer school, and I organised the Meet the Man sort of thing down, we call it Encounter Night down in Melbourne. And so opportunities to really grow in my gifting and to work with other people, just been an immense blessing. So I'm confident, and I can say with great conviction, that belonging to DOJ makes me a better MGL. And it also makes me a brother to my siblings and an uncle to my nieces and nephews, because I'm sharing life with families. And so they're really teaching me about what it means to raise a family, so I can love my own blood family better. And being a missionary as well means that I'm living in different branches of the community. So wherever I go, I know that I have a family in my brothers and sisters in DOJ. So yeah, DOJ is, well, big blessing. Yeah, I'm just super grateful. And for me, being here in Canberra as well has also just been a really beautiful place for me to be planted in, this particular season of where I'm at in my journey, and just experiencing the love and welcome of Canberra DOJ. Just wanted to express my gratitude to you guys just for taking me in. And I'll hand back over to Therese because she's probably going to talk a bit more about stuff. So yeah, thanks, sister.
Thank you, Michael. That was lovely. So nice to hear different people's journeys, and particularly our journey within the Covenant community. I stumbled across this. I think it's from Pope Francis. From what's that family's encyclical? Family of. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It said this. It said, "No family drops from heaven perfectly formed. Families need to constantly grow and mature in the ability to love." And I got to say, no consecrated man or woman drops from heaven perfectly formed. They need to grow constantly and mature in the ability to love. Just as we would say that there is no single that drops from heaven perfectly formed, that they too need to constantly grow in the ability to love. So I love in consecrated life how our lives complement one another. I love that our lives complement married life complements our life, and also likewise with single people as well. And I often also, as a consecrated women, there are times obviously in our journey where you think, oh, is the grass greener on the other side? Surely it has to be. Or you look at marriage and think, that looks good. Or you look at single life and think, that looks great. And I can remember journeying with my pastoral companion who's married, and I said to her, I was talking to her one time and I was just saying, I think sometimes it just feels very lonely in consecrated life, and and she went, same here. In married life, it's just so the same. And I was like, really? So I just love how our lives complement one another and are very, very similar, which kind of takes me to my next image. We had the blessing this week of Lara Kirk coming to or joining our sisterhood for a night and giving us some formation. And this is another one of the blessings that we love in consecrated life, journeying with our brothers and sisters in DOJ, is the formation and the coming together. So Lara, on last Monday night, did some formation with the sisters, and it was really cool. It was all about growing in our emotions. And she showed this image, and I just loved it. And she talked about this image being like, a beautiful destination, like a hideaway, escape, holiday kind of thing. And she talked about how the mountain... She talked about different elements of this image. Like, you could look at this image and think, oh, that's beautiful sand and crystal clear water on the right there. And that, sometimes married life can be like that, where it's just beautiful and luscious and I'm just kind of paraphrasing. She didn't say it like this. She said it much better. That married life is beautiful and luscious at times, and then there's times where you've got to get there into the crevices, and times where times where it just kind of drops and you think, oh, it's difficult and it's hard. And then there's times where it's just kind of smooth sailing and you're sitting, relaxing, enjoying this beautiful little secret hideaway. Then there's times where you're trying to get up that mountain and it's really difficult and really hard and struggling away. Is that right, Lara? Yeah, thank you. And I can remember sitting there as she was talking, and quite often I have this experience where I sit there and think, that is exactly like our life, like that our life is like that. There are times where, you all climb the mountain together with the sisters and you just kind of want to go off and leave them and go join that beautiful crystal clear beach. And there are times where there's the beautiful, joyous times where you're kind of on that destination or the beautiful water or the nice sand, and you're together and it's lovely. And it's like that in Disciples of Jesus community, that we experience that, where we have times where we're all struggling together, times where we're kind of working hard at relationships and building relationships and having that sense that Michael was talking about, that sense of belonging. I just want to mention some of the blessings that we find in our life as consecrated women. I think one of the biggest blessings for me is that I've probably found my lifelong friendships within the community. I'm still friends with some of the young people, some of the people when I was young, that I went to school with and hung around as a young person. But I know for me that my friendships within the Disciples of Jesus community, married and single, I have those friendships as lifelong friendships. Even though when I met Fiona Smith, she didn't like me at first. I got invited to stay at her house, and apparently I locked one of the locks that I shouldn't have locked, and cost her $270 for a locksmith to come. But anyway, now I go to Julie and Fiona's and I feel very part of their life, and I feel like they're my family. As Michael was saying, we can go to, and like families or people that we've known for many years in the community, and it feels very much like our own family. One of the blessings that I found within the community is healthy relationships. Particularly we have, as consecrated women, we have that beautiful experience of having healthy relationships with men, like with you men, and we're able to journey together and move together in that healthy relationships with men, and also obviously with women too. Like we have that beautiful experience, of sharing groups, just growing together, getting to know one another vulnerably and intimately in our sharing groups, which is absolutely beautiful. One of the blessings that we love in consecrated life is that you share your children with us. Like, that is just so beautiful. And I know, I look at Jill Belcher, who I've done many mission trips with her and known her as a single woman, and now she's got these teenagers who are coming to Explosion, and that kind of explodes my mind, because I knew her as a single, and Anna RV and Greg when he was a brother, going on mission with him, and just seeing these people, beautiful friends of ours who share their children with us, and as Michael said, in a way that we can just be us, and that is such a blessing. One of my other blessings that I have within Covenant community is our brothers and sisters overseas. I'm really good friends with Nathasa, with Yovi and Nathasa from Bali, and I know that when I catch up with her, when I go to Bali for mission, we just have this instant connection, and we often will keep up we'll keep in touch with each other and send each other messages. And I love that because, she's over there in Bali and I'm here, and just the whole thing of Yovi coming to do APSI many, many years ago and developing that relationship. And then out of that, not out of the relationship we had with him, but with the community, that then community formed in Indonesia. So, and I can remember going to the Philippines and not ever meeting any of these people, but having this instant connection and this instant bond as soon as you meet someone and they say, "Oh, I'm in Disciples of Jesus community." Like, it's such, you just have that instant connection with them. Just going back to family life and the sharing children with us, like, I know a number of our sisters are godparents to some of the kids within community, so that's such a blessing as well. I think another thing, one of the blessings that we find in community is we can just be ourselves. Like, there are times where, even with family life, sometimes it's very stressful and difficult going home on holidays or whatever. But being within the community, we can just be us, like we can be MGLs, and you guys get us. Like, that's so often, most of us come from families that they're not practicing their faith and they just don't understand our way of life, and they don't understand covenant life, or they don't understand MGL. But when we're with our brothers and sisters in the community, you people just get us. And it's really cool. Just to share a tiny bit of my journey before we finish up. I come from far north Queensland, and before I joined the sisters, a couple of years before I joined, I went to a summer school of evangelisation. So I travelled from Cairns all the way down to Bathurst. And for those that know Stephen Proud, he was there in that group, and there was a whole group of us. And we must say, we only went to that summer school because the priest was paying. And this priest thought that we would all go to the summer school, we'd all get on fire for Jesus, and we'd all come back to his parish and do ministry and all that kind of thing. We rock up to summer school and we had a massive experience of God's love. But within that summer school, a lot of people were saying to us, "Oh, you've got the Dalzells going up there, starting community." And we had no idea what community was. I didn't know such a thing existed. And we ended up, after that summer school, having a beautiful experience of God's love. We went back to Cairns, and just as we got back to Cairns, the community was forming up there. So that was an interesting, I can remember being part of this community, going in, and there were all these families meeting, and I can remember in the families thinking, wow, they're all like, they love each other a lot. Being quite like, wow, this is something I'd never experienced. And I can remember being blown away by the love that Michael was talking about, and that acceptance and that belonging. And then being part of the Disciples of Jesus community as Cairns was forming was a huge blessing as well. And in my own life, just in my own grief in my life, like losing a few of my family members, my mum and my brother, I'm so grateful to the community in that, because the community really reached out to me. I can remember John Kennedy texting me every day, asking how I was going. And I think just that a family within a family, like just reaching out to me and very much caring for me, is something that I'll never ever forget. So I just want to finish, and just to say too, like just very recently, journeying with Marg Evans, who's currently dying in palliative care. Like, I know there's something when we lose someone, within the community that's a part of us goes as well. Like I'm sitting there with Margaret. As I sit with her, it makes me really sad because I think, wow, I feel like I'm losing someone very close to me and someone in my life, and journey, being with the Campbells in their grief. And Colin, Gwendolyn, I never met your daughter, but there's something, I hear how beautiful she is, but there's something in us that's grieving because you're grieving. And same with the Campbells and those, others in the community. And I think that's that bond that we have with one another and the love that we have with one another. So just to finish by saying I am super grateful for our community and love Disciples of Jesus community. And I thank God that Missionaries of God's Love was birthed out of the community and continue to live. We continue to live a full member of the community. Thank you so much.